call this meeting of the Schertz-Cibolo-Universal City Independent School District to order. Let the record show that quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and the notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. The time is 6:01. Roll call, please.
All board members are present except for Margaret Carlin.
Very good. Thank you. Will everybody please stand and join me in the pledges? All right, well, the next item is President's Welcome, so I guess that falls to me. Thank you for everybody for coming out tonight. We do have a couple of public comments, but they'll come up later in the meeting. So thank you all for coming out. See, we got several people in the administration here. Sorry, I know it's summertime. I know you want to be someplace else just like me, but unfortunately, we still have to have meetings. So thank you for coming out and spending your evening with us, everybody, and of course the board too. So with saying that, I think the best thing to do is to roll right on. So our next item will be the Vice President's recitation of district call to action and learner outcomes. That'd be Vice President Letitia Seaver.
SCUC ISD call to action. Through high quality and student-centered learning experiences, students will leave SCUC confident, empowered, and prepared with the skills to pursue their individual passions. SCUC ISD learner outcomes. Every student will graduate or transition with the 1, adaptability, problem-solving, and social skills needed to independently function as appropriate for their future endeavors. 2, understanding of their greatest assets and how they can contribute to industry, society, and their community. 3, appropriate understanding and application of professional and personal communication skills, including verbal and written expression. And 4, skills to achieve their personal, academic, military, and career potential.
Thank you, Ms. Seaver. Our next item is board recitation of district trustees' commitments to excellence. And let's go with Mr. Perkins this time to kick us off.
We are committed to maximizing achievements for all students.
We recognize the invaluable contributions of our teachers and staff and are dedicated to supporting their professional growth and well-being.
We are committed to providing appropriate and innovative resources and curriculum. We are committed to exercising fiscal responsibility for the long-term benefit of the parents, guardians, citizens, and employees of the district.
We are committed to providing safe, secure, and supportive environments for working and learning. We believe that public education is best defined by the local community with limited government involvement.
Very good. Thank you, board. Appreciate it. Our next item will be the Vice President's overview of board member ethics. Again, Vice President Seaver.
Every month, we read a portion of our board ethics. This month, I'm going to highlight commitment to service. As a member of the board, I shall promote the best interests of the district as a whole, and to that end, shall adhere to the following ethical standard: commitment to service. I will focus my attention on fulfilling the board's responsibilities of goal setting, policy making, and evaluation. I will diligently prepare for and attend board meetings. I will avoid personal involvement in activities the board has delegated to the superintendent.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Seaver. At this time, we're going to move on to the superintendent's update, and our superintendent, Paige Milling.
Thank you, President Finley, board members. This is an exciting superintendent update to get to do because it was everything that happened at the end of the school year as we had all of our celebrations. So for May and June, we will dive right into our purpose, which is our student learning and their experiences. And what a special occasion to get to see the elephant walk at all of our elementary schools for our seniors that get to return to elementary and see their teachers, and then for all of our elementary students to see the graduates, what it means to be a Buffalo, what it means to be a Steel Knight. So that's a great experience for all of our kids. Here we have some photos from Byron P. Steele High School graduation at Strahan Center, Clemens High School, and our Allison Steele Enhanced Learning Center graduation that was held at Clemens High School. All joyous occasions and enjoyed by families and the students. this is a nice little thing that Pascal Elementary does. They do something called the Patriot Walk, where the fourth grade students walk the building for the last time, giving thank you notes to teachers that they've had in the past and saying goodbye to Pascal Elementary. And so hopefully they'll be back someday, one day, many years down the road when they graduate from high school. In fine arts, we had the Texas State Solo and Ensemble Contest. You can see those photographs there, and lots of mariachi performances in the month of May and into June. And moving right into our highlight on our staff for the first time ever, thank you to the Human Resources Department and Jackie Pertello for our baby shower for Human Resources. We actually had existing parents who have children in our system. We have expecting parents who are employees in our system, and then we had even employees who are even just thinking that it's just an apple in the eye somewhere, but they're planning families later on. But they came, they learned about the benefits, learned about leave associated when you have a child, and walked away with many things from our vendors for a newborn baby. That little baby right there is, I believe, Mona Schuster's in finance, her grandbaby. Her daughter works at Steele High School. So that was a wonderful time for those families. On the last day of school at Marion Dalford, Mr. Pounds out in our audience cooked hamburgers for every single non-campus employee in our system, and we had a great time. That was after all the kids were gone, and we actually had great weather that day. It was in the 80s, and we enjoyed lunch together. Moving on to our partnerships, if you've driven downtown Cibolo recently, we had 4 talented Corbett students that were selected to paint the mural near Harmon's Barbecue, and I believe it is complete. If you drive downtown Cibolo, you will see that mural that our art students from Corbett Junior High, they were guided by their art teachers, of course, but they took the time to put that mural together for downtown Cibolo. STEM Camp was the first week of summer. It was our 5th year to be able to do that. The theme was Bugtastic Start to Summer. It was a study of all things with 6 legs, bug-related. And the students and the teachers, it's made possible, of course, by our DODEA grant, and we had daily STEM activities. They got to go to the zoo. You could see some of those things there. And then on Friday, a culmination where their parents were able to come in and have lunch with the students, so it was great. Strong Families, Strong Forces, Empowering SCUC Military Families. We've partnered with the United Way to pilot the Strong Families, Strong Forces program. It's an 8-week free, innovative design to support military-connected students. Because we have a large military-connected population, United Way selected our district to pilot this program, and I believe, Cassandra, overwhelming success? Overwhelming success, so hopefully this will be a partnership with United Way that we will be able to have for many years into the future. There we have our Unsung Heroes event. Those are for our employees that work all summer. That was held at Steele High School. We were really scared we weren't going to be able to do that, because when we woke up on that Thursday morning, there was no way to get to Steele High School because of high water crossings, but the water did recede, and we eventually got to hold the event, and all the employees really enjoyed that. Thank you so much to our partners from the Education Foundation for making that event so special for our employees that work all summer, our unsung heroes. I do have to take this moment to thank the Holdsworth Center for their incredible donation and our leadership team. We will be able to attend a couple of days of sessions at the Holdsworth Center. It is an investment in our district and in our leadership team that they are providing to us, and we're so grateful to get to do that, and for our team to get away and I guess have a retreat, if you will, on the Holdsworth Center. So that's a great thing to get to do. And last but not least, we were able to hire a lot of student workers for summer hire. If you see kids working around here with their ID badges, that is exactly what it is. It is students working around this complex in many different areas. We had our first new hire orientation on June 2nd, and they've just hit the road. Just really did a great job getting started in all areas at central office. Reminder that we do have, in June, we've covered our budget projection, what our compensation and benefits projections. You guys provided us a whole lot of guidance as we planned for compensation, and we were able to get you a compensation booklet last week, and then hopefully we'll be able to make a decision a little bit later tonight. Future budget workshop dates are on July 10th, August 7th, and then we have established August 18th as our budget and tax rate adoption evening. And so with that, that is the superintendent update. Thank you so much, Mr. Finley.
Very good. Thank you, appreciate it. Our next item is public comments. I got a little script I'm going to read here, and then we'll get to that. The Board of Trustees will now hear public comment statements. In order to provide consistency and fairness to all individuals, public comments will be heard in accordance with Board Policy BED Local and procedures outlined in Administrative Regulation BED. The Board strongly discourages inappropriate comments on individual personnel or students in public session and will not tolerate profanity or vulgar language. Complaints or concerns will be considered by the Board only after the complaint has followed the guidelines prescribed by the applicable policies such as DGBA Local, FNG Local, or GF Local. Public comments will be limited to individuals who sign up to participate in the public comment portion of the meeting before the board meeting is called to order. An individual who signs up to participate in the public comments portion of the meeting may not relinquish their time to another individual. No public comment shall exceed 3 minutes. To ensure compliance with time limitations, a yellow card will be held up by the board secretary at 2 minutes, and a red card will be held up at 3 minutes. And first off tonight, I have Ms. Carol Davis. And Shallow, sorry.
There we go. Sorry I'm dressed down. We just got back today from Chicago to visit one of our graduates working on her doctorate. She just finished her first year in neurobiology at the University of Chicago. So she's ours, but she's one of ours as well. So we went to spend a week with her. And Shiloh and I wanted to come do two things. First, we want to make a pitch. We are a therapy team. And for us to give back to this district would cost this district $0.00. Shiloh actually carries more insurance money than I do because of the fees that I pay to the organization that we are a member of, because we have to have liability insurance as a pair. But I wouldn't ask anything of the district. It's our way of giving back. She is my second therapy dog. It's just a human being. We give back, and we love to give back. And the campus that I work on, I'm kind of centered anywhere in any part of the campus district I can get to quickly. I wouldn't ask for treats. I don't ask for dog food. I don't ask for anything because Shiloh's mine. She's my baby. I've known her since she was 2 weeks old. She is a Snowvid dog, as a matter of fact. She was born the week before Snowvid happened. And she's been through lots. She actually grew up, some of my favorite pictures are from her visiting Steele High School. And she spent some time over at Allison, and she's given back in some of our hardest times, and she's given some of our best times as well. Currently this summer, a program that we really want to hit up, and it's a dear to my heart because I love to read. Miss April, the children's librarian over at the library, Shiloh and I are there 3 days a week, or the month, I'm sorry, we're there 3 Wednesdays of the month. Tomorrow we're back, we were off last Wednesday, to pause to read. It is so great to see our SCUC kids come in and read, our little shy readers, as they gain confidence. Some of them come back every week just to read to Shiloh. I love it because I get to hear a good story, and Shiloh loves to see the kids. We'd love to work a partnership where it's pushed out from the district to all of the kids to know that it's there, because I'd love to give more than just an hour a week at the library to come hear great stories from our good readers, our struggling readers, whoever the readers are. It's just great to see mom's eyes light up when the kid has no fear of reading to a goofy Labrador. So if anybody wants to come pet Shiloh, she's here to, she's a lover. She's not a service dog, so she's open to scratches of any kind. She'll flop over on you. Is the only thing dangerous is the tail. She has no control because it gets a little happy. But happy summer. Come on, Shiloh.
Very good, thank you. And thank you, Shiloh. Okay, next public comment will be Cheney Walker. Did I say that correctly? Okay, very good.
Good evening, board, council, staff. My name is Cheney Walker. I am participating in this year's chamber leadership program, and I'm here to observe. Thank you. Oh, could I get my agenda back?
Okay, with that, thank you all for those public comments. Our next item is going to be correspondence. Do we have any going?
There's no correspondence.
Okay, we have no correspondence. Our next item is going to be a report on board advocacy. Since I'll start with Mr. Perkins, I think I'll start with Mr. Swart this time.
In the interest of time, I will pass.
Ditto.
So as the kids are taking part in vacation, I was too, and so I'll leave it at that.
My timer won't go off. How do I cancel it? Okay, sorry. I'll let Jerry work on that. I just wanted to go through a few things that hardworking trustees have done, besides all the extra board meetings that we've been having. Trustees have been visible in the community, attending Schertz Chamber luncheons, Northeast Partnership, Tri-County, and then within the school district, as Superintendent Maloney mentioned, there are many activities and fun things, signing days at Clemens and Steele, Corbett's bridging over to Clemens, Allison Steele's fall graduation, Clemens and Steele High School's graduation at Strahan, and STEM camp at Steele was awesome. Everybody was having a blast, so thank you to Miss Deanne Thomas and everybody else who was involved. And trustees sought continuing education credits, so hopefully we're more knowledgeable now than we were at the TASB Summer Leadership Institute.
Having spent 2.5 days at SLI, I want to take credit for it. Each year, I remember when I get in there that I've seen some of this before, but that comes with being in your 10th year on the board. All very good stuff, and it was a very beneficial leadership institute, and I look forward to the next one.
Well, just to close this thing up, we did attend 3 graduations in the May versus June. Time flies. One of the things I've always said that I appreciate being on the board is every year we get to see our students graduate. And you've got students that have been 12, 13, 14 years, and it's a highlight of their education to this point. It's a highlight of their life. And quite frankly, it's the highlight of my year to see those smiling faces come across the stage, shake their principal's hand, shake the superintendent's hand, and then come over at the end of it and shake our hand and say, good luck, congratulations, and wish them on their way, because it is a combination of a lot of hard work on their part. So I would say that that's the highlight of my year is graduation. So thank you, everybody who put on graduation this year. It was great, 3 great events, and I think it worked out very, very well. It's one of those things that, I mean, I'm just going to say it again, it's just a highlight of my year, so I appreciate everybody going forward. One person up, the one in Clemens was my 50th graduation ceremony. So I've seen a lot of graduations, a lot of kids come across the stage, and I will tell you, from the first one to the last one, it was a highlight. So thank you. Thank you, everybody, for putting that on for us. At this time, we're going to go to new business, and our first item is going to be a report, the June legislative update from our superintendent, Paige Maloney.
Thank you, Mr. Finley and board. These next 2 items are going to go together. The presentation that I'm going to do this evening is really our last legislative update for what we call an update for the 89th session, because as you know, we did get to sine die, and the special session that has been called doesn't really pertain to us. So I'm going to give the last legislative update, and I'm going to use the framework that we are using with our campus and department administrators to unpack this legislation for us to be able to move forward. The second agenda item is a legislative tracker, and we actually used the TASB document that you received when you did your legislative update, for those of you that did the legislative update through SLI this past weekend. And we've made that into a tracker that you will have access to as we do things, but we'll be bringing the tracker back every month with a presentation for things that we are having to get board action or have follow through or big communication items, because this was a pretty big legislative session. And I said today, we have a policy update that's coming up next month that is probably the tail end of the 88th legislative session 2 years later. So there's no doubt in my mind that we'll be unpacking this legislation from this session for a really long time. So I'm going to go through this presentation, and the framework that we're using is what we call the 3 R's. And so for every piece of legislation, we want to know what's being said out there, what's the headline, what it really means for us, and then what is our response as we move forward to serve our community and the students that are in our schools. So for public finance, we know that the headlines are out there that this is the largest investment for public education at $8.5 billion. And we know about those meaningful raises for teachers, as we discussed in the board budget workshop earlier in the month. We are absolutely thrilled that the teachers are going to get these raises, and then we will be covering the TRS costs associated with those raises. So really for us, we presented what that revenue means for us, but we know that 5.5 million of the 8.7 that we receive is going absolutely into the required raises. And so when we think about how are we going to respond, we came together as a board to discuss our options of looking at our long-range plan and possibly considering a VADR this fall to maintain these programs that we have and then consider future compensation. So that's public school finance. For the voucher bill, the headline is that the parents need more school choice. The reality for us is the official launch for this is not until the 26-27 school year, has to be studied. There is not any accountability for those funds, so I'm sure they're going to figure that out in this year that they're studying on how to implement it. So you have the dollar amounts there. I mean, really for us, our path forward is we're going to continue to promote our district as the best choice for our students and their families and promote our programs that we're known for. But I've got a little thing in the back of my mind that as we go further into the school year, I'm going to be talking about enrollment enhancers. And I'm rolling this out in front of the staff right now too. So enrollment enhancers coming soon to a board meeting near you. When we think about legislation around ballot language, what they're saying out there is that it's adding additional guardrails to ensure that voters have neutral facts about propositions, and we want voters to know that if you vote yes, it is to a tax increase. The reality for SCUC is we always communicate to voters the facts associated with any type of election that we would be doing. And the next steps I think that are important here is you guys will be participating in your Team of 8 training on July the 31st, where we will start kind of covering some Bonds 101 type things. There was a couple of bills on Open Meetings Act, one that talked about requiring 3 days instead of the 72 hours, where we would be fine with that since we have the Thursday meeting right now. But there is something in there that said that minutes have to be posted within 7 days. We're in a system where we approve the minutes a month after the meeting happens, so we will await further guidance from the state on that item. And there was a bill for competitive purchasing. The only thing that changed in the law was the 50,000 threshold requirement for procurement. They changed it to 100,000. It becomes effective September the 1st, and for the reality for us is that a local policy can be adjusted prior to the TASB policy update, and Mr. Moy will be bringing that local policy update, just with the number change only to that policy update in July for discussion. This bill, Senate Bill 12, I was just reading that there's been a lawsuit already filed against it today, but this is a parental rights bill that really has a multitude of requirements and policies that have to be developed. And you can see some of those there: a facility usage reporting requirement, a new parental engagement policy, changes to the grievance policy, DEI prohibition policy, social transition prohibition policy, and lots of required board training. The reality for SCUC is we've always been committed to working with our most important partner, which is our parents and our families. The implementation of this bill is going to require some new and adapted structures, but we want our parents to know that we are committed to transparent communication as we implement this new parent involvement policy. Similarly, Senate Bill 13 around library books is also going to require notable areas of changes. Now, thank goodness we have already done a whole lot of legwork in this area, but some of the things that are covered in this bill are collections monitoring, parent access, approval of new books, library book challenge processes, and any new book that would enter a library has to come before this body for approval under this legislation. We do not have a library advisory council per se right now, but we do have a group. Parents are not in that group. We do have a group of teachers that is vetting and looking at these books. So we very much are in favor of establishing this Library Advisory Council to include our parents. We have to come up with a selection process, and that also has to involve you guys as far as who will serve on that. So I want to reassure the public and then also you all that the administration is already working on the implementation structures. And again, there will be transparent communication through the implementation process. Don't worry if we don't make it to we're not going to buy any books until we have our processes in place, because we know that we will have to bring those to this body. Senate Bill 11, the designated prayer and reading time, also legal action is likely. Haven't seen it yet, but it requires a record vote on whether to set a daily prayer time or reading of religious texts. The reality for SCUC is we do not restrict students or staff from a time of prayer or reading religious texts outside of instructional time. The bill also does not require a designated time to allow students and staff that time to do so. We do feel like legal action against this bill will be coming, like some of the others. Our recommendation is to maintain our current practice and not take a record vote to do that. Senate Bill 401, UIL participation by homeschoolers. It requires a local policy by date certain in order for homeschool students not to participate. This is the opposite of what we usually have to do, where you would have to say if they could participate. We currently do not allow homeschool students to participate in UIL activities, so we will continue our current policy and monitor annually, and a discussion item for this will be coming in July. Student discipline. Rhetoric around this is it's called the Teacher's Bill of Rights, designated to enhance classroom management and bolster educator authority in response to a rise in classroom behaviors. Again, multiple changes to our current practice, and I just want to talk about a couple that I've listed here. So you probably have heard out there that this bill would allow unlimited ISS with check-ins every 10 days. Know that if a student has an IEP, that is not the case. So there's a whole nother section of that bill that protects students with an IEP that are in special education. So that's something you might hear out there. Also, it is allowing that for even students below third grade, which those students below third grade have been protected generally and not within this. Also allows for out-of-school suspicion for below third grade. And then another one that we know about is it removes vape possession as a mandatory DAP placement. We know we went through what we went through in the last legislative session because of that area. We are awaiting guidance from, for the release of the Student Code of Conduct, and this is a huge training lift for our assistant principals and principals when we come back in July. So big lift in the area of student discipline for the Teacher Bill of Rights. House Bill 1481, the cell phone policy, the research and headlines are saying that devices have negative impact on learning and cause mental health insurance. So this policy is prohibiting students from using cell phones during the school, or smartwatches too, on school property during the school day. Good news is, on the reality, 3 of our secondary schools have already moved in this direction in the past year or years. We have one school that has done it for 2 years now. And generally, the SCUC parent feedback has been generally very positive. So this policy goes into effect on September 1. The policy is coming, and I believe that we are releasing communication, try to get parents ready for that this week and then the weeks to come. Bear with me. Senate Bill 10, 10 Commandments policy, requires posting of the 10 Commandments in every classroom if it is donated. The ACLU has filed a lawsuit to stop this bill. That is the Americans United for Separation of Church and State and Freedom from Religious Foundation. It's already been struck down for violating the First Amendment in a Kentucky case in the 80s. So the reality would be right now, as the law is written, if donated to the district, we would be required to display in a conspicuous place in every classroom starting in 25-26. 16 by 20 inches is the size on that. And for moving forward, of course, we need to reassure the teachers, make sure that they understand the requirements of the bill as it's written into law. And then we would, of course, be following any litigation that would be related to said bill. What didn't pass? Couple of things, AKA bullets dodged, hope stashed. Thank goodness we can still do May elections. That's the big takeaway from House Bill 19, not making it through. And accountability didn't make it through. There were some meaningful things that were in that House Bill 4, and it didn't get through. And that was kind of a surprise, actually, to some of us, because we really thought at the end it could have made it, but it did not make it through. And so the final takeaways, we only looked at 15 bills today. There are literally over 100 that affect public education. Lots of requirements and compliance coming down from the state level. And it takes systems like ours. When I sit around the table with these competent people, these wonderful leaders in this room, and we make plans to implement this legislation, I can't help but think about the small districts that have to do every single one of these things with like 2 people. And so, it's a big lift, but I know that the educators in the state of Texas will rely on organizations like TASB to help us through getting the legal policy updates, and that'll help us develop our local policy. But as you know, this does take a little bit of time. And that is why the next item, and we don't even have to do the next item because I'm going to do it right now, this legislative tracking item is going to be available to you at all times, where you can look at what we're doing with all of this legislation. We're going to post this item on the agenda monthly. You'll have access to the tracking tool, and then we'll have a little presentation monthly to kind of show, we've got a couple of discussion items coming up, I think, for UIL and library. So those will be coming up in July, where we'll have to take action in August. So we will keep you up to date with that. But you always can go to the tracking tool if you have questions about any bill that we're doing. We're going to keep that up to date. I told the team, I said, I don't think there's really an end in sight. It's going to be about for the next 2 years. So.
You have any comments or questions?
I have a comment. The vape possession, the student discipline bill, I just want to make sure anybody watching clarifies that if the vape that they're in possession of contains THC, they still are going to DAEP. It's just if it's a regular vape.
Correct. Thank you, Ms. Thomas.
There was House Bill 13 was a library bill. I was going to ask, do we have any idea what that's actually going to look like as far as coming before the board? I mean, I'm not a librarian or teacher, although my late wife was both, but I would never even try to tell a librarian what's age appropriate. I mean, they're the experts at that. So for me to sit up here and try and say, okay, I'm going to approve this book, I wouldn't know age appropriate if it bit me. So that's where we rely on teachers and librarians for that.
Right.
So I'm just wondering what potentially that process could look like, and what kind of recommendation could you make to the board to say, okay, this book is 8th grade appropriate, this book is 2nd grade appropriate, without us going through every single one of those books and make our own determination for us to have to approve that. I mean, I know librarians usually read every book they get their hands on to make that determination, and also depending on the student in front of them, whether they think that book is appropriate for an individual student. So it's kind of interesting they are going to now bring it, have to bring it for the board to approve library books. And it's also going to include any books that may be in an individual teacher's collection. So there's a whole can of worms sitting there.
So the bill only includes library collections, so campus library collections. Fortunately for us, like Ms. Maloney mentioned, we have a collection process already in place in our district where our librarians go through a rubric, and that rubric identifies for them specific criteria when they're selecting books for the campus library. Things like age appropriateness and content is on there. Also alignment to standards for the grade levels that the librarian is serving. And so I anticipate, because they already do that process, we would be bringing that process to you. So they would have already vetted the books through this collection process, and then we can bring that information to you so that you're making an educated choice around what the book selection is going to be.
The bill's funny because it actually, if we did not create the committee, then the board would be having to go through that whole process of vetting each of the books. The point of the committee is that the board helps appoint the committee to do that work for you, to hopefully make it much easier for you all to be able to approve a list of books that the committee has already reviewed.
Okay. Is there going to be a challenge process in this, that parents
So
can
we
challenge a particular
currently-
book, or
yeah.
an opt-out process?
We currently do have a challenge process, and there is a committee that we put together for challenges as well. Fortunately, knock on wood, we have not had challenges in most recent years, thankfully. And we already currently have an opt-out process for parents as well. So parents can go on to our school website, and there's a little form that they fill out. And once they fill out that form, it actually goes to our librarian coordinator at the district office, and it goes to the campus library. And so our librarian coordinator, they follow up with the campus librarian to make sure that the student is flagged. And so anytime the student checks out a book, they have to actually check it out with the librarian, who will verify that that's an appropriate book for them to check out.
I know librarians are very careful with the books they allow to be checked out, even in the library, so I know they're very careful, so.
Do-
so they-
Do we need to hash this all out right now? I'm guessing you guys will probably have a presentation for us at some point. We're kind of ad hocing it right now, when my guess is you will have a presentation for us that explains the whole process and what our role will be in it, and all those questions will be asked and answered. But to go through this one question at a time as we think of as a question is just we're going to go down a rabbit hole here, and I think we can much more cogently get that information in what time, along with pictures and arrows and circles and things like that to help us.
Yes.
Am I
The
right
goal is-
about that?
The goal is to bring it to you guys in July as a
Thank you.
discussion item.
However, we can have these discussions now if we'd like. I would like to ask a question on the prayer. The moment of silence that we do, does that suffice as to the prayer time?
Go ahead. I was just going to say that we don't have a lot of guidance yet on most of these bills. We're still waiting for guidance from TASB and from others. My understanding is that the bill would have to be, or the board would have to specifically state if that time was for prayer or the reading of religious text. So we might use that time, but we would have to be specific about it. We already have time built in as quiet time that you can do what you want with. That is a very short amount of time, by the way.
I was going to, not as a rebuttal, but just lay it out there that this was one example where I was going to get just one example of what the legislature did this time around. They tend to do every year is what I call underfunded or unfunded mandates. And that was really what I was trying to get to, using the library book situation as that foil to get to that point, saying was a very big legislative session in that regard, that there are a lot of new requirements that the legislature laid down on us, this being one example of that. The Ten Commandment thing, the prayer, I mean, there's so many things that are now going to be coming at us. So yes, there'll be continued discussions, and I realize that the administration can be doing their best to help us get through this process, but it really was to try and let the public know that this last legislative session has really laid a lot of additional requirements on schools. And that was just one way of making that point and getting that point across. So I appreciate everything that y'all do, and you got your work cut out for you. Like the superintendent just said, we're still dealing with stuff in the 88th legislative session. We're 2.5 years past that point, so I can only imagine what the 89th is going to do to us. We'll probably be talking about this in 27 at the rate we're going. So it's really just laid out there to say this is one small example of be careful who you elect, because this is what we end up with. So anyway, any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, thank you. At this time, I'm going to go on to discuss legislative tracker, which I'll let you have it, and if you want to continue on.
No, again, we could just continue on. Know that that's in your board master calendar, and we will be updating that daily. I will say that's not an exhaustive list of all of the bills. As we go to other updates, we will add into that tracker any other bills that we feel are would have an effect on our school community.
Very good, thank you, appreciate it. Our next item is report approved probationary contracts under DC local. Ms. Ward.
Good evening, President Finley, Superintendent Maloney, and members of the board. I'm excited to come tonight. I've got a little update there for you, a hard copy, because we had a little snafu and needed to hand those out to you guys. But as you can see, Superintendent Maloney has been very busy approving teacher contracts and paraprofessional employment. So here's a most current list of who's coming to new hire.
I just have a question. In the past, we were given, like, if they were a math teacher, English, can we get that added back on?
We can. I showed that printout to Ms. Maloney today, and I kind of like it that way too.
Okay.
And she said that we could going forward do that. So what I can do is throw into transmittal this list with their assignments.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next item, which is discussion 2025-2026 Student Code of Conduct. I realize there's a whole lot of changes coming to that, but maybe a quick overview of where we're at.
Good evening, thank you. Yes, so normally this time of year, we would actually be bringing a draft of the Student Code of Conduct and the handbook. However, we are in a legislative session, and we don't even have the TASB draft yet. So we also don't anticipate we'll get it. I'm hoping we'll get it mid-July. We're going to keep our fingers crossed. We are ready. As soon as we get it, Mr. Wendell will be going to the session on it in early July. As soon as we get it, he will be ready to start working through, like, what are the required changes, what are our options, and make sure that we provide you. We'll probably provide it prior in transmittal so you can see it, kind of the outline, the page that shows you, like, what was changed, what's recommended. Unfortunately, right now, we just don't have anything. There will be changes. Obviously, we've got a lot of bills out there that are going to require, I think most specifically in the discipline area, we're going to see quite a bit of changes. We're going to see changes, obviously, in the cell phone area, other things that are out there, but we just don't know what they are right now. But it is coming soon to a board meeting near you.
Well, and what I wanted to say is this is a huge lift for TASB this year on that particular item. Fortunately, since we have so many board meetings this summer, you know, if we don't get it at that July regular meeting, we've got August 7th before school starts.
So this potentially could be something we vote on next month? No.
I'll be honest, I think what Superintendent Maloney said is accurate, that it'll be that August 7th board meeting.
Okay,
That's what I really think.
I believe every year we normally do it in August or September even.
If it's not a legislative session, we try to do it in June.
Okay.
I think last legislative session we did, I think first part of August, if I remember correctly, because there were a lot of changes, not quite as substantial as these changes are, because these are some huge changes. So I know you got your work cut out for you.
Yeah, I think this will be probably one of the biggest years of changes.
All right. Any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our next item. which is going to be a report end-of-year safety and security update, and that would be our Director of Safety and Security, Mr. Clark. You have the floor, sir.
Okay. Thank you, President Finley, Superintendent Maloney, members of the board. I'm here to do my annual end-of-year school safety update. We're just going to jump right into that for the 24-25 school year. So our emergency operations plan review for the 24-25 school year, Texas School Safety Center reviewed our basic plan as well as our cybersecurity annex, and we did satisfy all evaluation criteria for this year. So we're good to go. We had just a handful of corrections. Really, it was more just language that they wanted changed for certain pieces. Nothing major for either one of our pieces that were reviewed. For the 25-26 school year, they will be reviewing the basic plan again. There's a few other pieces for special ed students that they would like to have added in there, and a few other things, as well as they'll be reviewing our active threat annex, which they actually reviewed 2 years ago, so they're coming back to review that again. So every year, they have our basic plan and at least one annex that they review each year. TEA exterior door audits. All of our campuses were audited this year for our exterior doors. 650 doors checked, and we did have 6 findings. So 99.08% without a finding, so I'm pretty happy with that. Hopefully next year, that 6 will go down to 0. But for 99% of our doors, as many doors as we have, especially at our high schools, I think that's pretty good. Emergency drills, you can see the little picture right there. That's just a little snippet of the tracker that I use to make sure that all of our campuses are compliant with their drills. And so just a reminder of our drills, monthly fire drills, 2 lockdown drills per year, 1 secure, 1 non-fire evacuation, a shelter for hazmat drill, and a shelter for weather drill. So those are all the drills that are required by the state. All of our campuses completed those prior to the last day of school, and also uploaded and documented everything that needed to be done. Our safe and supportive schools reporting, that's basically our threat assessment reporting that we report out every June to TEA. All of our campuses have submitted that information as well. It came out the 2nd of June this year, and we typically have until the end of the summer. But all of our administrators, we just kind of ask them that it's done before they go on any vacation or anything else, and they all got it knocked out and done. So I'm happy with that. This is the first year we've used Sentinel for this, because this is the first year that Sentinel's been required by all school districts. So it does make the reporting easier. And so moving into next school year, pretty much all of our reporting of anything will be through Sentinel. So our threat assessments, our drills, a lot of things like that we'll be using for Sentinel. So anytime TEA comes out and does a door audit, they can just look into Sentinel. They can see all of our door checks. They don't have to ask to look at the notebook at the front and things like that. So I think it will be a good tool for us to use. We're in our 2026 safety audit cycle. So for this particular cycle, we are using Region 13, and we will start those in the fall, and we'll do all instructional and non-instructional. So we'll do some in the fall, some in the spring, and then probably the non-instructionals in the summer, just to finish that out. So the idea behind this is moving forward after this cycle, every year we'll get back in that 3-year cycle. So every year we should have some sort of audits. With that 4th year, there'll be a DVA, so that's the deep dive audit that we'll have. So every year we'll just kind of be getting that feedback and being able to improve on whatever we feel like we need to improve on. We continue to use our P3 Campus Anonymous Reporting app. I just kind of have 2 side-by-sides, last school year and this school year. And then I'll go to this little graph right here, and you'll see that big old spike. I saw everybody's eyes. That is, so for Steele, it shows 57. For 3 incidences, there were 35 total tips. So it's not what it appears to be. That is the total number of tips, but there were 3 of them that were the majority of the tips. So P3 continues to work. Our SROs get the notifications. We get the notifications. Administrators get the notifications. Sometimes they even go to the PD's dispatch and things like that. So it does allow for a quick response whenever we get the tips for whatever it may be. And it's allowed our administrators and our SROs to jump on things and investigate quickly to get things resolved. This time of year, we're also looking at our SRO interlocal agreements with both cities. This year, we didn't have a lot of new language that we wanted to add. We did add a few different things for House Bill 33, such as, you'll see at the bottom, breaching tools and tactical shields. We did have to add some things for training, documentation, and safe walks and things like that if we do renovations. But for the most part, we didn't change a lot. One of the things that we feel is important is our Cibolo and Schertz sergeants will be moved to rover positions. This allows for them to supervise and assist with casework for our campus SROs and the part-time SROs. Right now, previously the way we had it written is 1 sergeant would be at a campus. So pretty much their time is taken, especially if they're at a high school, because that's how it was written. So just working with Schertz and Cibolo, it was, we just came to the conclusion that it would be easier to have both sergeants roving so that they can get out and help and do what they need to do in their capacity. Schertz PD will coordinate and cover any uncovered campuses, which would typically be an elementary, until they are able to fill that with a permanent SRO. And then if Cibolo were to have any unfilled elementary or intermediate, we would use our third party that we've been using for the last 2 years for them. So for SRO staffing, right here you'll see I have on both for Cibolo and Schertz the school year 24-25. Those are the actual numbers that we ended the year with. So for Cibolo, we had 1 sergeant, 3 officers. The proposed in our ILAs is exactly the same as it was last year, which is 2 sergeants, 8 SROs, campus SROs. For Schertz, for this school year, it ended 2 sergeants, 7 officers, and proposed 2 sergeants, 10 officers. And then, of course, so for example, Cibolo, they had 3 SROs last year, so we had to cover the rest of their campuses with a part-time. And the same with Schertz. Schertz was covering part-time for their other campuses as well. So with that, if anyone has any questions.
Any comments or questions? Go.
I just have a quick question about the P3. We're still pushing out on the campuses that parents can use that as well, right? Because
Yes.
I know a lot of times when instances arise, they call 911. And so I think they need to know that if they utilize that, it goes directly to you guys immediately, and it's routed to whoever it needs to go to. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And a lot of times when the tips come in, you can kind of tell that it's apparent if they don't say my student is, so-and-so.
Right.
But I try to do the 2-way dialogue to let them know if they're comfortable talking to an administrator, if they feel like it needs to be taken care of like right this minute and you're here, then go ahead and go talk. But I'm gonna pass this on and let them know, blah, blah, blah. So the 2-way dialogue helps as well, but I do think that getting more information out to the parents could help as well, but we are seeing more parents use it.
In that app, you can also, because a lot of the stuff they see on social media, right? They can upload those screenshots, so you can directly see them and all that as well,
Yes.
correct? Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none. Okay, thank you, Mrs. Clark. Appreciate it. Okay, next item is discussion hazardous bus routing resolution for 25-26 school year. Mr. Moy, you got drafted.
Good evening, President Finley, Superintendent Maloney, and Board. I know this said Francisco on the item. Unfortunately, he could not be here tonight, so I came in from the dugout to work on this. Every year, we bring to you a list of routes which are defined as hazardous. First of all, we don't want our children walking to school in a very dangerous area, so we will provide them transportation. But specifically asking you guys to approve it is because we don't get funded on any route where the start of the home to the school is less than 2 miles, unless we designate a route as hazardous. And a route can be hazardous from anything like there's no walkway, there's not a sidewalk in the area, they're having to go under a major, go across a major overpass or even an underpass, or it's a major road, even if it's well constructed. If it's a multi-lane major road and even if it has like a sightline issue, we don't have it can be considered hazardous, and we can provide that transportation and get funded for it. So I will tell you that the list that you will be approving is the exact list that you approved for this year. Despite all the construction and road improvements that you're seeing in Schertz-Cibolo, none of it to this point has resulted in us removing a hazardous route. I will tell you, though, that there is going to be some changes. For instance, they are laying a very wide sidewalk along Town Creek Road near Cibolo Valley. So maybe for 26, 27, that route may not be hazardous anymore. So we will, we continually monitor this and will bring changes if it's required. But as of right now, it's the same list that you approved in the prior year, and that'll come back in July for approval.
Very good. Any comments or questions? I think it's going to end up on consent, but we'll bring it up later on. We usually do it in consent, don't we?
Yeah, especially because there were no major changes. Yeah, we do it in consent.
So I'll come back next month, and we'll probably stick on consent then. Okay, very good.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Appreciate it. If there's no comments or questions, I don't see none. Okay, our next item is discussion communities and schools with CIS service agreement for 25-26, and that'll be Ms. Gracia.
Good evening, President Finley, Superintendent Maloney, and members of the board. Tonight I'm bringing to you the Communities and Schools Service Agreement for school year 2025-2026. It will include the same number of site coordinators for next year. And of course, as you know, our site coordinators really target those students who are at risk. They help provide resources and really those wraparound services. Bringing it to you tonight is a discussion item, and of course, bringing it back next month.
Any comments or questions? Is this coming back with the same cost as last year? Or is
It's slightly higher, and there's a breakdown, and the service agreement is attached as well.
Okay, I started to ask the question out there for the public, so, okay, very good. Go ahead, Gary.
I happen to know that there was a 3% pay raise included so that part of that was passed on to all the school districts as well.
Very good, thank you. I thought there was a pay raise, and I just wanted to ask, so glad you clarified. Okay, very good. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next item is report early childhood math and literacy goals and end-of-year student, college, career, and military readiness data, and that would be, right there. Ms. George
Ready to go. Good evening. Tonight we're going to be reporting the early childhood math and literacy and college and career military readiness goals for June. We're going to first start with our early childhood math and literacy goals update. Just as a quick reminder, our goals are required by the state as part of House Bill 3 eons ago that required us to make third grade math and literacy goals. Of course, those goals have to be specific and quantifiable. They also have to be annual. It also has to contain targeted professional development, and we have to post them on our district website. It's important to also note that although these goals are required by House Bill 3 from eons ago, they are local goals that we monitor ourselves, right? It's a way for us to make sure our students are on track in the areas where we set our goals in. So just a little quick reminder about MAP. You guys have been through the MAP training, but I like to make sure I include this information. MAP is an adaptive test, right? So as students are taking the MAP assessment, as they're answering their questions correctly, the assessment adapts to that, and they give the students more challenging questions. When a student gets an answer incorrect, it drops it down a little bit, And then it figures out, based on only the correct answers, what the student's actual RIT score, or what they say ready to learn score, is going to be. We utilize achievement percentiles for our new goals. You might recall that this is the first year with our new goals. I thought back today, this time last year, we were creating these goals, and it's already been a year where we're monitoring the goals. Because we use achievement percentiles, we know that at the 50th percentile is that's what's considered to be average performance for our students. One other point of consideration is that as students are sitting and learning, the required RIT score increases, right? MAP determines that, okay, kids are sitting in classrooms, they're learning, they're gaining some knowledge, so they should be able to answer more challenging questions as the school year goes on. And so in the fall, a student might have to get 200 RIT score to be at the 50th percentile, but of course that increases by the time they get to the end of the year, and that might be at 211 in the spring. So for our early childhood goals for math and literacy, we actually set two goals. We set one around achievement data for 3rd grade, but then we also set a goal around cohort achievement data. The New York came out of me in just that moment. Cohort achievement data, where we're gonna follow our 3rd grade students from this year until they reach the 7th grade year, just to see, as they are progressing through our system, are they reaching those achievement levels. Tonight, though, because we don't have that cohort data yet, those kiddos are still in 3rd grade, we're just going to be reporting on the math and literacy achievement at the 3rd grade level. Our goal for this year for both math and literacy is 62%, and that's what we're reaching for. And then just to remind you of the colors, if we've met or exceeded our goal, the percentage will be highlighted in green. If we're slightly off track with 10 or fewer points, it'll be in yellow, and if we're off track, it'll be in that little reddish-orange color. So first up is our 3rd grade math achievement, and you can see, just to orient you with the chart, there's BOI, MOI, and EOI, so beginning of the year, middle of the year, and end of year. And then you can see the specific achievement levels. So you have the low, low average, average, high average, and high. And where we want our students to score is in that average and higher area. And so when we take a look at what we did for end of year, we can see when we look at the average, high, average, and high, we scored at 64.89%, which is higher than our goal. When we look at the same for achievement for literacy, we can see for end of year, we scored at 64.3%. I'm sorry, yes, 3% for our literacy. Then when we look overall, although we wanted to make sure you got the 3rd grade information, we want to look overall too at our kinder through 8th graders, just to see as a system if our students are making progress. And so we can see for end of year, we scored 66.5% for K through 8 math achievement. And then when we look at literacy achievement for K through 8, it's at 66.51%. So then finally, some of our strategies that we're going to be doing moving forward. We are so thankful the board approved new math curriculum. Our teachers were actually in last week and today, some of our teachers, to plan with that new curriculum and start creating some curriculum documents, some scope and sequence documents, and pacing calendars, and they are excited. They were like, there's everything is right here in one place, and that's gonna make their life easier as they're implementing instruction for the mathematics. We're also going through the process of rebooting our professional learning communities, really just getting to the root of professional learning communities and helping to just help our campuses to make sure that that initiative continues with the training. Over the last couple of years, we've worked with kinder teachers with Kinder Reboot. This year, we did 1st grade fundamentals, and next year, 2nd grade. So 2nd grade foundations is coming. We will be working with the 2nd grade teachers and pulling them in so that they can work across the district collaboratively. That's really the goal, is we want all of our 2nd grade teachers to be in a room so they can talk through the curriculum for reading and writing and math and what their next instructional moves are going to be. Then, of course, we have our TEA Reading Academies, keeping up with that. Honors Institute, and then new administrator support and campus support plan. Now I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Gracia.
Okay, so this looks very much the same as what Serena just went over, and it is. There's a lot of overlap. Of course, we have to have specific and quantifiable goals, 5-year goals, student growth, the 13 student groups, annual progress review, as well as posting these results on the district website. So I always like to share the chart to the left, and I'll just say this again. There are changes just about every year with the criteria for college, career, and military readiness. So I have some recent and upcoming changes. The college prep course, of course, this year is seniors only. And they're going to review which ones actually qualify the year after next. ACT readiness score changed. CTE, I've explained before that this year was the first year they had to be concentrators, meaning they had to take 2 or more classes for 2 or more credits in the same pathway and get an IBC. Starting next year, they have to be completers, which means the students have to actually complete the pathway and earn the IBC. We've talked before about the DD4 form that students who are joining the military have to complete correctly and fully and turn that in. And this is probably the biggest change moving forward. JROTC is moving to CTE, so now a student who's in ROTC for 4 years and earns an IBC will actually get a CCMR point as well.
I'm going to ask a question on the fly about that because I was just thinking, so are we going to still get the JROTC funding from at the federal level and CTE funding at the state level?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something I was talking to Amy about the other day, and I don't know the answer to that, actually.
We are going to get the CTE state funding for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so these were the goals that you all approved for our 5-year goal process. And just like Serena said as well, these are our local goals. We know that the criteria for accountability also changed, but this year we're looking at the class of 2025, and the goal that we put forward was 72% of our seniors would meet college, career, or military readiness. And the color coding is the same as well. So just as what is required, we have the district goals, and we have each high school campus annual goals and where they are in their progress. As you know, this can go through the summer, so there's often perhaps a percentage or two change because students turn 18 or they join the military, and we get some of that data before the August cutoff. Also, please keep in mind that the criteria for Alice and Steele is different from our traditional high schools. And we really, last year, we dug in and we put some strategies, some innovative strategies into place moving forward. The college prep course, in particular Texas College Bridge, we've really used that, and that's where we've seen probably the largest increase is in college readiness. We had a reading language arts prep course, but that also is through Texas College Bridge as well. And Varsity Tutors helps with the tutoring. As far as coding is concerned, the military coding, our CCMR advisors have worked really hard to continue those relationships with our recruiters and get those forms in. And then our special education graduation coding, that has also really helped to get our special education students coded correctly. And if they meet the criteria because of that coding, then we get CCMR for them. Expanded testing opportunities. We have more TSIA2 testing available. We've used that. We've utilized that for our dual credit courses, but we're also using that as an incentive, which I'll talk about in just a minute. Our industry-based certifications, Amy Massey has worked really hard to ensure that each one of our pathways, our CTE pathways, has at minimum one industry-based certification. She's also worked really hard at making sure that students can take their capstone course in a 1-period opportunity or a 2-period opportunity. And then strategic scheduling. Really, the high schools have been very strategic in their scheduling so that students who may not have met the criteria can be together and work on Texas College Bridge, for example. And then School Links has really been a key tool in this journey as well. So students and parents have more accessibility to their graduation plans. Students can get on there and actually see how their students are registering, communicate with the counselors that way, see the 4-year plan, see what, all the courses along the way and the opportunities. Much more to that program as well, but as far as CCMR is concerned, the parents really have those opportunities to see. And then we wanted to throw in there some of the things we're doing to incentivize the students, because just telling them they need to meet CCMR criteria doesn't always motivate them as much as it motivates us. So they love the graduation cords. So one of the things we changed this year, we added a teal graduation cord, and that was for college readiness. If they showed college readiness in both math and English, and they might have career readiness too, but if they showed it in both math and English, they got to wear a teal cord at graduation. And then exam exemptions. So for example, our Algebra 2 students, they go through Algebra 2, and then at the end of the year, if they take the TSI-A2, and if they meet the CCMR criteria, then that's one way they can be exempt from that final exam. Those are just 2 examples. We're going to bring the committee back together and continue to brainstorm ways to incentivize. And then with that, if you have any questions for Serena or myself, we're happy to answer those.
Anybody have any questions, comments? It's always a challenge every year, isn't it?
Yes, it is, but it's a fun one.
Are there changes for this coming year that we know about yet?
The JROTC is the biggest, and the CTE concentrators to completers. That's another big one. So we have to continue to work on that, but I know that everyone's in there doing what they need to do for kids.
No, they are. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Real quick, you had mentioned, I think this was said maybe last year, the things that we're doing now, we will see improvement in our college career readiness scores, but because it's lagging, it'll be a couple years before we actually see it, right?
Yes, thank you for asking that question. So our class of 2025, we're seeing the difference it's making. I mean, it's a process. We've put some of these things into play, or we did a few years ago, and then of course we've implemented new strategies. So while it's the class of 2025, we won't actually see that for a couple of years on accountability.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Both of you. Our next item would be report end-of-year staff and parent survey results, and that would be Ms. Dauphiné and Ms. Ward.
Good evening again. I get the privilege to discuss with you, to share with you our end-of-year staff survey results. And it's always a stellar time to look at all the data. So happy June, everybody. We are happy to report that our staff engaged a little bit higher from end of the year last year to the end of the year this year. Over the course of several years, we've had some lows and highs of how much participation we're getting from staff surveys. So we really want to find another way besides anonymous surveys. So hopefully this is our last one of this kind as we look for something else to give you some better data, some more different types of data that you can really sink your teeth in. So I know that this looks the same oftentimes, so I'm just going to share some highlights. This is by department before we get to campuses, and I just want to shout out to some of our biggest departments, special ed and transportation, and they really came in at high levels of completion of the survey data. So we're just glad that they engaged with that tool to give us something to look at and kind of rate this first year under our belt in HR. And the campus level, I just want to shout out and point out Cibolo Valley. This principal is very determined to get some of this data for herself. She really wants to know and grow. So she allowed them to open up their computers at a staff meeting and say, just put it in here, I want to know. So our principals are very busy right now diving into this data and trying to share with us their plans for supporting our staff members across the district. At our high schools, we have, Allison Steele and DAP, very small high schools, and our junior highs, and then the two comprehensive really pretty much stay in the same in their completion rate, with a little dip over at Clemens of about 20 people. When we look at the data this way in those 5-point measures, 1, you disagree strongly, and 5, you strongly agree with relatively positive statements. This is around the 5 questions on climate and culture, actually 5 strands, there's more than 5 questions. But I just wanted to point out that support for mental health and well-being is something that we are constantly trying to improve. It still rates in there at close to 20% of people saying, yeah, we want more of that. We don't have what we need right now. So our eyes tend to draw to that. But if you look at that over time, we're at a place higher over time, a little bit, a tiny bit of growth, but it's growth. And we really want to jump off there and have a plan for all of our departments and all of our campuses having a monthly mental health and well-being activity that they can engage with their staff, so that staff realize, oh, that's what this is for. We really want to focus on that. The other areas have been in that 4 points or higher, so you're getting into your 80, 90 range of being, pretty agreeable. And so we count those as strengths. Going into alignment, there's 3 strands, and we do pretty well in this area, I think mainly because it's about the alignment of our work and in our departments and on our campuses. We feel very strongly that we're coming in and doing the job we need to do. So these remain strong. No real concerns in those areas. And then finally, communication, which is constantly an effort. I think the more we listen, the better we have to give the communication. Is it written? Is it shared via Parent Square? Is it shared via video? How are we doing with Parent Square? I think we need more specifics. Maybe flatlined, but just glad to break it into that 4.0 when it comes to communication. We know we have some growth there, but we feel very comfortable about moving on to better practices. I think Parent Square has helped a big deal. Maybe we want some specific questions around that. Resources and benefits, coming back to HR, employment opportunities, and that has been a place for us to really focus in on our staff and say, hey, what do we need to offer as far as employment opportunities? Again, I don't really like to look at the data in this area, just kind of shows you a roundabout. I do like to look at it comparatively across. And again, in this area, we got some bumps where we haven't gotten some bumps before, so we're happy with a little bit of movement in that employment opportunities. Obviously, with a district of this size and under the legislative actions that we are under, we are happy for that little 1.1 bump. But we will continue to try to offer opportunities to our staff as best we can with what we have. Any questions?
Any comments, questions on it? Go ahead.
All right. We can go straight to our parent survey.
All right.
All right, so for our parent survey, you can see our end-of-year participation. It was significantly less than, oops, so sorry, there we go. Less than last year's end-of-year parent survey. I don't think that that's uncommon. We've had some years where it's really dipped and then other years where it's gone up again. So we did have some discussion with some principals. They felt challenged because they were definitely pushing it out through their parent emails and really wanting to get more parent response here and didn't see the actual response that they had hoped to get. So we definitely need to talk about that for sure for next year. You can see here, this is just another view of the comparison. You can see how it kind of goes. It was kind of steady in 22, 23, but then you can see a decline and then it goes up and down and That's kind of the trend we see. This year, also, we did not do that middle of year survey, which was different than we had done the last few years as well. For our parents, we have a section on our campus climate and culture. So really we talk about kids feeling safe at school. Do our parents feel welcome when they call and visit the school? Is the principal approachable and reachable? And did the school staff demonstrate a genuine concern for their child? So that is one view. Here you can see for each of those questions, the peach line is where we are now at the end of the year. We actually hold pretty steady in this area. We don't see a huge deviation in regards to the climate and culture. I do think staff demonstrating a genuine concern, that is an area that we've focused on. We've seen a little bit of a dip here at the end of the year, but again, it's not a huge dip. And then, of course, communication. So we do have Parent Square this year, full force. And we can see a little bit of a difference here between the first question, which focuses on campus communication, as opposed to individual teacher communication. There's a little bit of a difference. Campus communication is a little bit stronger. I do think that that has to do with Parent Square for sure. And then you can see also for the end of the year 24-25 on this slide, it's the hot pink line. And you can see a little bit of a difference between campus communication and teacher. Campus is 4.4, teachers 4.0, and there's been a little bit of a dip for teacher at the end of the year. I know the end of the year is a little bit hectic. You can sometimes see that in prior years where there's a little bit of a dip at the end of the year. Overall, it's still up in the 4, which is strong, but we definitely would want to talk about what specifically it is that teachers are not communicating. I think sometimes we make an assumption that parents just feel like they're not getting information, when actually parents might want different information, not information about award ceremonies, but maybe they're actually talking about, like, how is my child doing in school, things like that. So I do think that that's a question that the campuses need to dive into a little bit. And then, of course, we have our section for parents on the learning environment. So do we have a challenging learning environment that helps prepare them for their future? Does their child have every opportunity to be successful? Do they have opportunities to participate in clubs and classes that really align to their interests? And then there is a section straight for student feedback, a question about student feedback. And you can see here, this is actually holding very steady, just slight variations. It's the hot pink line at the end of the year. Some areas are up 0.1, some of those questions are down 0.1, so this is actually holding pretty steady. Our parent and community engagement, so this focuses on parent-community involvement and then parents really feeling like they are partners in their kiddos' educational experience. And you can see for the parent and community involvement, last year we worked really hard on that. And this year it has stayed up at 4.2 all year, which is the highest it's been in quite a while, and it's held steady. And then parents feeling like they're partners in their kiddos' education, that also was a focus last year as some of our goals and strategies in our district improvement plan. And we started the year at 4.3 and we're ending the year at 4.2. So just a little bit of a dip, but overall still a little bit higher than we had been in years past. And then there are some questions specifically that are for the district. So the superintendent's decisions makes decisions in the best interest of students, and they do feel welcomed and supported just in the district in general. And you can see that we're up a little bit on superintendent makes decisions in the best interest of students. We're definitely up from years prior. And then this year we saw a nice, we started the year where we ended last year, but we've also seen a little bit of an increase. And then also feeling welcomed, we're holding steady at 4.1. So when our campus leaders are having their leadership team meetings this summer, They will go through the surveys at each specific campus. They get their open-ended responses specific to their campus. And they have 3 goals. They really want to look at, when it comes to communication, because that's been a focus of ours, what are the comments about effective communication, and what do they need to really dive into to see what they can do differently at the campus? They definitely want to celebrate those things that are well done. They want to celebrate teachers that get shout outs, staff that get shout outs and recognized in the comments, because they do. And they also want to look at what can we improve and create goals for their campus improvement plan next year, which some of them started their leadership team meetings this week and are working on it next week, and then other campuses are having them in July. And so, like we said, they definitely review those results, talk about action steps, things to celebrate, areas to grow, and then create a plan of action. And then there is an expectation to communicate the plan, like what are the highs and the lows, or the opportunities for both the parent and the staff survey. What were the trends they saw? What are the strategies they're going to implement? And we do ask them to include strategies in their campus improvement plan, but also communicate out to their parents and their staff what they found from those surveys. So that will happen at the beginning of the year. Any questions?
I don't have a question, just a comment. Parents filling out those surveys, to me, is not a reflection on the principals if they don't. I get the surveys, and then I get it, and I'm like, oh, I'll fill that out later, and then I forget. And so if you don't have little Johnny coming home with a paper saying, Mommy, if we turn this in tomorrow, we get a prize or we get a party, you know what I mean? It's online now. And so it's helpful, because those reminders you sent out, I appreciate them, because I'm one that forgets. And then I get the reminder, and I'm like, oh, I got to do that. And then I forget. So it's not a reflection to me on the principals, and I don't want them to take that at heart, because we're busy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so sometimes you just forget. I mean, we get the emails, we get the parent square, and I appreciate the reminders because I forget. So I just don't want them to think it's a reflection on them that they didn't communicate well, or the district isn't communicating well, because you get them. You get the emails, you get the reminders. It's just, sometimes life gets busy, and as parents juggling 50 million things, dinner, and the kids, coming back and forth, they forget. So like I've said in the past, it's hard when you don't have an incentive for the kids going, Mom, fill that out. Dad, fill that out. I need to turn it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree, Ms. Thomas. And I don't think that they think it's a reflection of them. I think that they genuinely want feedback, and if they're specifically if it's something that they've tried to change and work on, right? They want to know if it's working for parents. But I agree with you. It's not necessarily a reflection on the campus. I think everybody also has different opinions on surveys. Some parents don't necessarily value a survey like that, but they do value going and talking to their teacher and their campus principal about what's working for them and what's not working for them. And I think that we've even talked about what's the best approach for this, because not everybody wants to do a survey. I do think we're a little over-surveyed in today's day and age. So, you get a survey just for driving through Chipotle, just want to say.
That's what I was going to comment also, that you had communicate at the end. But I think that personal, we know when talking to people, if you communicate personally with them, then they'd be more willing to tell you the truth and really connect with you. I don't know how teachers could do that because they're busy. We know, but I hope you all come up with some some ways in this age of apps and computers and all the different things. Maybe some way we could use social media to do that? I don't know.
I know we're talking about it. What's next? I think Superintendent Maloney has a little different take on it as well. She definitely prefers the more face-to-face communication aspect. We've done some things this year. We brought in Deanna Jackson, brought in our PTC and our parent groups and did some activities with them. We got lots of good feedback. I prefer those types of venues for feedback. I know that does limit some parents. They can't participate in all of those things. So I do think that there's a lot for us to talk about on how we could do it. I think Kelly wants to, Kelly, you looking like you want to.
I mean, I was really just going to say, it is a work in progress. We still want feedback. We want to hear what's working and what's not working. But we know that if only a small percentage of our parents are providing us with this survey feedback, then we're not really getting the full picture, and so we're trying to figure out a better way.
I think, though, that short of holding their kid until they do the survey, and even then, we're going to wind up with a lot of kids, I don't know how you make them. I
That's
think,
fair.
yeah.
But we also, this survey tool is not free or cheap, and if we're not getting good results from it, we felt like it was a good time for us to try something different.
Right.
We did have some campuses shift this year that they really tried to focus on, like when they had an activity or an event, to get feedback from parents, like as they left that event, about the event, right? Whether it was a family reading night or whatever. So we did have some campuses do those types of things this year, which they actually found very, very valuable.
I think also if our numbers are pretty much staying the same, I mean, 0.1 to 0.2 to 0.3, that's not a significant difference. And if they keep populating the same every year after year, yeah, it is.
I just thought, were you done? Okay. This might be one of these areas where, as we start to respond to the new legislation, we're going to have some additional things to do that we didn't have to do before. And so there are going to be certain things that we might just, consider not doing anymore so we can do these other things. And this might very well be one of those things. So all of our activities, I think, now are going to wind up being evaluated based on how much time we have and on the administrative side to do all these things. And as you're pointing out, the sort of the bang for the buck is going to be in comparison to other things we have to do. So we're getting more chores. I should say you are getting more chores. And so I think that each program where we are starting to get a little frustrated because we don't feel like we're not getting what we want or need can be put on that little side list where when we have to come right down to it, say, well, we have to do these things and we've got new and exciting ways to do them, but we can't do those things and these things. So it might be one of those ones where we say, well, let's just put that off and do these other things and focus in on the new stuff.
Any other comments? I'm just going to put my 2 cents worth out there. The surveys have told me a lot over the years about where we're at as a district. So personally, I think surveys do provide some benefit. Now, the surveys have become, at this point, pretty predictable. So I think it is a good idea from time to time to mix that up, just like we do with our going out for business stuff every 5 years. So it's a good idea to go through. And also as our strategic plan changes, what we're asking our teachers to do and our strategic ideas, you may want to be in a situation where you change your survey or do it totally differently. And that's where I think that those ideas will come in very helpful as far as things do change. How can we get good parent feedback, good student feedback? After all, the students and the parents are our customers. And if we're not providing good customer service, and one of the ways you find out if you have good customer service is ask them. I mean, you go to Best Buy or you go to any restaurant out there, and the first thing they ask, would you fill out the survey for us? And that's how they know if they're getting good service. And so I think surveys can be beneficial, but y'all have already identified the fact that it's pretty predictable now, so I look forward to see whatever changes y'all can make going forward, because I know I've gotten benefit out of it. So, but like I say, sometimes it gets stale, and you just have to try something different. So, anyway, any other comments or questions on this item? Okay, I'm going to move on to the next item. Thank you, Ms. Ward, Ms. I'll get your name. Planus. Daphne. I'll never get that name right in 100 years. I have tried. Thank you. Our next item is a discussion district improvement plan for 25-26 school year. Ms. Kovacs.
Yes, so back in April, take a walk down memory lane, back in April, you all helped us approve the district improvement plan goals and objectives. Since then, we've been meeting with the District Improvement Committee and Team 1 to work on strategies to address areas in our data that we said, wow, those are areas that we want to continue to get better. You all have a paper copy, a physical copy of our draft district improvement plan with those strategies in it. And our plan is to bring this back for approval in July. So you have a whole month to review and at your leisure, take a look at all of the great work that we're planning for next year. Happy to answer any questions.
What's the new name of our committee?
Oh, District Educational Improvement Committee, so DEIC is what we're going to be calling the District Improvement Committee moving forward. If you think about it, we're going to have another committee that JD and his team are going to be leading that's also an improvement committee, but more of a physical structure improvement committee. So we wanted to make it really clear that this one's for education purposes, and his committee will be for other areas of the district. So
We're going to try and bring this back next month?
that's the plan, yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, sounds good. Any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item. Thank you. Next item is discussion procurement of goods and services, and there's two of them out there. One is solicitation for armored car services, and the other one is solicitation for charter bus services. Mr. Miranda.
Good evening, President Finley, Superintendent Maloney, esteemed board members. As President Finley led to, we are bringing for discussion two solicitations. One of them is going to be RFP 25-013V, Armored Car Services. The purpose of this solicitation is to procure the services of a qualified contractor to provide secure and reliable armored car transportation for the district. They'll be taking any cash funds from the district level and just depositing them in the night drop to the banks for us. This will be coming out of the general operating fund, and we have an expected fiscal impact of about $65,000. We don't really expect to see that, but just for precautionary, we want to bring this as a solicitation to the board. This will be coming in August for approval and award. And the second solicitation is going to be RFP 25-019B for charter bus services. And the purpose of this solicitation is to identify and contract with one or more qualified vendors to provide charter bus transportation for services of the district. This will be for fine arts, UIL, athletics, and all of those events that take the students for greater distances than our transportation department can provide services for. Currently, we had a contract with 10 vendors, and we've had that contract in place for the last 5 years. All the services have been wonderful and worked great, and we've never had any deficiencies or any services that were unable to be provided, but we're coming up on that 5-year mark that we want to go back out and see what the rates and what we can do just to do our due diligence as a purchasing department. The expected impact is $75,000 for those services, and we'll be coming back for award in August as well.
August or July?
August. So we haven't really put those out to bid yet and on the street, so we want to have those published and on the street for about 3 weeks before we come back for an award.
And the armored car service next month or August also?
August as well. The contracts are valid till September, so we're just going to leave it open, available for a little bit longer.
Okay, very good. Okay, do we have any comments or questions on these items? Seeing none, okay, we'll see you back in August on these items then. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item is discussion solicitation for district legal services, RFQ 25-028V. Mr. Miranda.
Hello again. So we wanted to bring this as a separate item due to the nature of the services that we're going to be requesting. So we are wanting to do a request for qualifications, 25-028V for district legal services. What we'll be doing is requesting qualifications for professional firms to provide comprehensive district legal services. The district services will be a broad range from human resources and employment law, contracts, purchasing and procurement, special education in Section 504, students and parents, bond counsel services, administrative and governance. The district will probably award to more than one vendor or one firm due to the nature of the expertise. We don't really expect one firm to be able to be the best service provider for all of these. And we'll be coming back to bring this for award in August as well. And due to it being a request for qualifications, this will not be based on price. It'll be based solely on the services that they can do for the district.
Very good. Do we have any comments or questions on this item? Okay, we'll see you back in August on this one. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Our next item is discussion, employee compensation package for 2025-2026 school year. Ms. Ward, you're up.
I get by with a little help from my friends. And this definitely was a work from all of my friends. We sent through board transmission the draft calendar, but tonight I have a hard copy for you of the updates that we've done since we sent that to you last week. And this presentation of our board book, compensation book, really does start with excellence starts with gratitude. I'm super excited about this product. It's been a year in the making. As soon as we got finished with the one from last year, we started on this and all the changes we needed to make for this new and upcoming school year. But it really starts with gratitude from you guys. What an overwhelmingly important meeting of the budget. I didn't ever think I would be excited about a budget meeting, or that would be my role in life. But you guys taking the leap of faith in all of our employees, every role matters, was just a huge, exciting time for us as a team, but then to share that with our leaders at our Leadership Institute, it was powerful to hear how much those leaders felt believed in by you and how fortunate they feel to be working for such a great community. So thank you is not enough. I would just appreciate your time and your energy and always looking out for us. So you know that valuing every role, every person, I don't have to tell you what you decided. We came to you with a 2% raise for all employees, and you said, yeah, that's not going to do. Go back and sharpen your pencil, Mr. Moy. So it really spoke, just volumes to all staff members. We were looking at 80 employees in SEUC who would have to come off of that teacher pay scale. And you said, no, let's don't do that. Our classroom teachers were going to be brushing up against maybe, your highest paid teacher, maybe there for 30 years, and a brand new admin might not be making quite as much as that person anymore. And you were very, just came in about every person matters in our organization. And so this is Mr. Moy's new update. If you have any questions on this piece of it, please ask Brian. I will have him turn on his microphone and coach us through. But it just reflects that our steps that we had shown you had the 2% at the highest, and he changed those to the 3%, with the other employees on the teacher pay scale looking like teachers or other people in the organization.
I have a quick question. It's just a curiosity. For the band directors and the coaches and anyone else who gets a stipend and drives their students to an event, do they get that additional driver pay? Or is that wrapped up in the
So we do have some travel stipends in here in the book, and so we're going to tackle making sure our travel stipends, all stipends are better off next year. But travel stipends was one we did do, so we were auditing throughout who is driving, where are they going. So some of our band directors that are driving every day to different things, we wanted to make sure they're coming in higher at that travel stipend. So yes, they're getting full pay, and then yes, they're getting a stipend for using their vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Did I answer that?
Thank you thank everybody for their hard work on this item. I know it's been a hard thing to go through this year with all the change on that, waiting on the legislature to make their final determination, and all of a sudden having to step up and make all those calculations. I'm sure Mr. Moore was up a few nights trying to figure that out. So, and thank the HR department for putting everything together for us. That was a very good presentation y'all had last week or a couple of weeks ago. So, and of course the update. I did see the one change that was made that was a little extra, but I kind of expected there would be a few minor changes in there, so I wasn't surprised at that. So,
okay.
Because it's like Mr. Moore said, we don't quite have all the information just yet, so there may be some changes, and sure enough, there was. So, any comments?
I think also a kudos to the board. I mean, we sat around for, budget meeting after budget meeting, and we hashed this out, and we took a look at it, and we are taking, a leap of faith here, and we went with a higher percent. And so I think the board will be proud of that in the end. These discussions that we have are not oftentimes easy ones, but I think the board can be proud of this compensation plan.
Thank you. I did want to just share a little bit more on the compensation plan outside of the money, and that's a big one. But we're thrilled to share the news with district leaders. The team morale and that organizational excellence is something that we can hang our hats on. We want to make sure that we are looking at how we compare to other parts of our community. And so this is how some of those around us are coming in. We can put this in transmittal so that you can really kind of study what's going on across that, and you have that at your fingertips. It is in the board agenda, so it's linked there. But some people are going to board meeting tonight, so we're going to be digging in to see what they pass.
And one thing I would say about that too, grateful to the board, y'all, when you see, news articles where this is happening, you're sending those to me, and I really, really appreciate it. I like to wait till it's on their website to see exactly what they're doing. Sometimes a newspaper article, there's a couple out there okay, we're going to give a 3% if the TRE passes. I don't even know what that means for creditable compensation. So, I like to wait till we really see it on. But I appreciate the articles coming in to see, because this is a very strange time, and I'll say it over and over again. This compensation increase for one category of employees, our teachers, are the heartbeat of our district, is more than 2 times what we have given to all employees in any year in the past. So everybody's watching everybody.
Any questions on these? I know that I've got Brian here if y'all want to ask anything in depth on maybe are their pencils telling the truth? Could it be real? We don't know. We're still watching them very closely.
I just want to echo Ms. Seaver and Ms. Maloney said. Thanks to the board, thanks to everybody concerned with this, because this was a heavy lift, and we got there, and that's the important part. And you're right, that we want to make sure that every employee of the district, everybody understands that we value everybody that's in this district, and hopefully we showed that in this compensation plan. So thank you to everybody in the district. Y'all are doing the best you can to pay them what they're worth, and we're going to make sure that we continue to do that. So, we'll never get there, but we're sure to make every effort to get there.
We certainly appreciate it. So other changes to the compensation plan, we have this highlight at the very beginning of the compensation booklet, just kind of showing what new things are happening. So I just want to highlight a few of those as we go forward. Our librarians and teachers and nurses is going to stay intact, so as one little unit. And then other things, of course, I can't go away without talking about perks of the badge, and you never know what Maloney has under her sleeve. So this could change with perks of the badge coming up. But right now, we're excited to offer free pre-K for classroom teachers. Hats off to Director Linhoff and Director Bronk for still allowing us to have entrance with our badge to any home event. Next level partnership, and that's sometimes out of district too. We've got some agreements with some of our people. Next level partnership, we've shared at the budget meeting how much we're getting on the return of investment there. We're super excited about going forward with that and what possibilities may continue to save our employees and our district money on our health care expenses. We're thankful to be moving to responding to our teachers and our staff members who wanted to go to a January 1 to December health plan. So Mr. Moy is allowing us to grit and bear it for this next little couple of months, and we're headed into that to say, hey, employees, we want to take care of you. And then super proud of our ComPsych and the amount of benefits we're getting out of that. We're currently trying to make sure we get that out at every event so that our staff does know mental health and well-being is a continued focus, and we spend a lot of money so that they have some free services. And it's pretty good. It's not just for them, it's for their families too, whether or not they take our insurance. So we've got to do a better job of getting that out there. Another brag here, these were the new ones that are highlighted in the booklet, but wanted to just remind you that with our new partner, First Financial Group, they're able to offer some things that we've never offered before. And so another little perk, like I said, for our staff members who have the SCUC ISD badge. And so, like I said, never know what's to come. Maloney's always looking for something to, share with the staff members how much she cares. So we'll be coming back surely in the fall to share with some of the celebrations.
Anybody, any comments or questions? Now's your time. Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Ward, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is board consideration and consensus discussion items be eligible for action under the consent agenda. The only things I see would be the hazardous route resolution and the CIS contract. For next month, there was a district improvement plan, but that's gonna come back as I think it's an individual item, at least we have in the past. Is it?
The district improvement plan,
Yeah, we're gonna bring that back as individual item.
individual item?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. So the only things that are gonna be on the agenda are, right now, be the hazardous route resolution and the CIS contract for consent. Because everything else is either August or September. So is everybody okay with that? Okay, that's what we'll do then. Very good. Thank you, appreciate it. All right, our next item will be our consent agenda, and we got a few items on there, and anyone wanna make a motion?
I move the Board of Trustees approve the consent agenda items A through G as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments or questions on the consent agenda? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Okay, our next item is request of board approval, employee compensation plan for 25-26 school year. Ms. Ward, you're up again. That was quick.
I made it back to my seat. All right, this discussion item is asking for your action now. I was going to say later, but it's asking for you to make some decisions. And so I just ask that the board move forward with that discussion item.
Mr. President, I move the Board of Trustees to approve the employee compensation package for the 2025-2026 school year as presented.
I second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. Thank you. And thank everybody. All righty. At this time, the board will now adjourn the closed session pursuant to the following sections of the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, authorization to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. And 551.072, discussion pertaining to real property, discussion of purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property. And 551.076, deliberations regarding security devices or security audits. And the time is 7:54. at 8:51 PM. Our next item is an open session, is request for board action, employment of Assistant Principal Samuel Clemens High School. Ms. Ward.
Yes. I recommend that the board take action on the discussion that we had in closed session.
I move the Board of Trustees to approve the employment of Jenny Ray for Samuel Clemens High School Assistant Principal for the 2025-2026 school year.
A motion and a second. Do we have any further comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you. Okay, our next item is board items for review and discussion, and that's up to me and Ms. Evans. So I'll give it to Ms. Evans, let you go through our proposed calendar for the rest of the month. And then
Yes, we've got a busy calendar as usual. Okay, July 1st, City of Schertz Council meeting, July 1st, Universal City Council meeting. Let's see, City of Schertz at 6 o'clock, Universal City at 6:30. July 3rd, staff holiday, closed on the 4th, and observance of Independence Day. July 4th, City of Schertz 4th of July Jubilee Parade. Let Priscilla know if you're participating. I hope everybody's planning to participate.
I'll be in Oregon.
You'll be
I
in
may
Oregon.
not be here either.
Well, we have enhanced the float. I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, fun. Fun. Okay, July 8th, Texas Tri-County Chamber meeting, lunch, 11:30. July 8th, 6:30, City of Cibolo Council meeting. July 9th, somebody has a birthday on the board, Mr. Swart. Happy birthday, Mr. Swart. You made it another year, yay. Okay, July 10, Northeast Partnership Chamber Luncheon Meeting, Olympia Hills, 11:30. July 10, 6 o'clock, called board meeting, board budget workshop, superintendent's formative evaluation. July 15, the Chamber in Schertz Luncheon Meeting, leadership graduation. July 15, also City of Schertz Council meeting. July 15, also 6:30, Universal City Council meeting. July 19th, first day to file for place on general election ballot. The 19th falls on Saturday, ergo, you will be able to submit your application in person on Monday, July 21. July 22, 6:30, City of Cibolo Council meeting. July 24, regular board meeting, 6 o'clock. July 31, Team of 8 meeting. Everybody needs to be there for us to get credit, so please, 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 everybody, let's do that. That's it, Mr. Finley.
very good, thank you.
Priscilla, real quick, Chamber Bowl, remind me the date on that? The bowling in August? Was it?
I'll have to check on it. I can't remember
Okay.
offhand.
And I was supposed to text everyone to see if you're participating, but keep that, I need to turn in that application probably by mid-July.
It's a morning now.
Yeah.
See, they're not doing it evening.
Yeah, it's not, it's daytime instead of evening. I believe it was $75. And I think we probably could field 2 teams. I just need to know who's going to want to do what. So I'll be texting you soon.
All right, is there anything further?
So you're going to text us on that,
August 22nd.
August 22nd, and it's only during the day.
I just want to wish the executive leadership team to have a fun time over the next several days and enjoy the time you've got there.
Yes, definitely. And thank you for all your hard work over the last month. We're halfway through it, and then we got a little more to go, but we're getting there. So thank you. All right, motion to adjourn? So I have a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned at 8:50.